Welcome back to our channel, Soap fans. Today is a beautiful day to dive deep into the absolutely thrilling mysteries currently unfolding in Port Charles. We have so much to unpack regarding the incredible twists and turns on our screens this week, so let's get right into the heart of the drama. I feel so incredibly electrified by that opening shot of Ethan Lovett standing alone on the pier, because to me, it perfectly established the high stakes, deeply emotional tone of this entire storyline. I loved the way the lighting was so stark and shadowy, casting a heavy, almost suffocating gloom over the docks as Ethan struck that match. Watching the flame lick the edges of that Polaroid of the late Delilah Wilson gave me absolute chills. When he stood there, watching her face burn away into ash, and quietly swore that no one would ever have to know what tied them together, I was completely hooked. I believe this is the exact kind of dramatic, visually stunning storytelling that makes daytime television so magical. It wasn't just a guy burning a picture. It was a man desperately trying to incinerate his own past to protect a future he doesn't even feel he deserves. I genuinely think we're missing the point if we just view Ethan as a typical grifter, reverting to his old conman ways. The way I see it, this is the absolute best the writers have ever handled Ethan Lovett, because they are stripping away his usual charming swagger and replacing it with a raw, terrifying desperation. Every time he has swaggered back into Port Charles this spring, it felt like a performance, a mask he was wearing to hide the sheer panic underneath. I feel like his recent actions, committing literal felonies in broad daylight, prove that his motivations are rooted in something far deeper than self-preservation. He is doing all of this for baby Phoebe, a child almost nobody knows he is connected to, and my heart breaks for him every time he looks over his shoulder. I think Ethan's dialogue with Alexis Davis in her office completely backed up my take on his underlying terror. When he sat across from Alexis and confessed that he was Phoebe's father, the product of a tragic one-night stand with Delilah before she died in childbirth, his body language was so incredibly defensive. I love the writer's choice to have him push so aggressively for a closed adoption. He told Alexis point blank that he is not ready to parent, but I feel like the subtext of that scene was screaming something else entirely. He was desperate to sign away his rights and vanish from the paper trail completely. In my opinion, he wasn't running away from the responsibility of being a father. He was trying to erase his name from that baby's life to ensure that whoever is hunting him doesn't realize she exists. This brings me to that absolute masterpiece of a suspense scene at the PCPD. I feel so incredibly anxious just thinking about the moment Ethan slipped into the police station wearing a stolen uniform. The sheer audacity of breaking the seal on a cold case evidence box and pocketing a DNA sample was mind-blowing. The way the camera zoomed in on his trembling hands as he swapped the vials told me everything I needed to know about his internal state. You do not break into police storage and commit a massive federal crime to confirm a paternity result you would get, honestly. My gut tells me, and I believe the text on screen is heavily supporting this, that Ethan Lovett is not Phoebe's biological father at all. I think the scene at General Hospital with Elizabeth Baldwin was the absolute clincher for my theory. When Elizabeth clinically and professionally swabbed his cheek for the official DNA test, the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. I love the subtle sleight of hand Ethan used to palm his own swab, and swap in the one he stole from the evidence room. It was a classic grifter move, but executed with the sweaty, terrified precision of a man fighting for a child's life. The way I interpret it, the DNA sitting in that cold case box belongs to a highly dangerous criminal, and Ethan would rather legally brand himself as the father than let that true monster's name surface in the system. He is protecting Phoebe by framing himself. I know a lot of people are saying this storyline is dragging, or that the pacing of the DNA test was too slow, but I actually think the slow burn is exactly what's needed, because I feel like it gives the audience time to really sit with the gravity of Ethan's choices. If they rushed through the test results, we wouldn't get to experience the delicious, agonizing tension of him covering his tracks. Every lie he tells is a brick in a wall he's building to keep Phoebe safe, and I am entirely captivated by the emotional weight of his deception. And then, we have the magnificent Ava Jerome. I feel so incredibly thrilled by every single interaction these two have, because Ava is the absolute perfect foil for Ethan right now. When Ethan showed up at the Jerome Art Gallery, the chemistry between them was just crackling off the screen. I loved the way the lighting changed, and cast this gorgeous shadowy glow over Ava when she delivered that iconic line, "I have no intention of cooperating with you unless you make it worth my while." The smirk on her face was just peak Ava Jerome, calculating, flirtatious, and fiercely intelligent. The way I see it, Ava has figured out just enough of Ethan's game to make him sweat, and she is absolutely reveling in the power dynamic. She knows he is hiding something massive regarding his paternity of Phoebe, and she is squeezing him for leverage. I feel like this is the best they've written Ava in months, because it puts her right back in her element as a master manipulator who doesn't give loyalty for free. She has been leaning on him to keep quiet and making him work for her silence. It is a brilliant, high-stakes game of chess between two people who are used to being the smartest scammers in the room. I believe the upcoming developments teased in the summer preview are going to blow this dynamic wide open. The writers have promised that in a vulnerable moment, Ethan is going to make a startling confession that will reverberate for months. I genuinely think this confession is going to happen with Ava. When he is backed into a tight spot, and Ava inevitably steps in to save him, I feel like the adrenaline and the sheer exhaustion of carrying this secret will force him to tell her the truth. He is not Phoebe's father. I am so excited to see how Ava reacts to this, because she will carefully test whether his confession was ever true. If Ethan has lied to her about something as enormous as a child's paternity, she will find out, and I cannot wait to watch the fireworks when she realizes the true scale of the danger he has brought to her doorstep. Could this slow burn become Port Charles's next great romance, or its next great betrayal? In my opinion, it is going to be a beautifully messy combination of both. Ava does not forgive being used, but she also fiercely respects anyone who goes to extreme, criminal lengths to protect a child. I feel like once she understands that Ethan is risking his own freedom to shield an innocent baby from a monster, her blackmail will pivot into a genuine, protective partnership. While Ethan and Ava are playing this dangerous game of cat and mouse, I feel so incredibly heartbroken for Harrison Chase and Brooklyn Quartermain. I think the writer's choice to juxtapose Ethan's dark criminal desperation with Chase and Brooklyn's domestic bliss is just brilliant television. Every time the camera cuts to the Quartermain mansion, and we see Chase and Brooklyn happily planning for their future with Phoebe, completely unaware that their happy little nursery sits on top of a literal powder keg, I get knots in my stomach. They have absolutely no idea that the closed adoption they are fighting so hard for is built on stolen police evidence and a faked DNA test. The second that closed adoption hits a wall, and on daytime television, we all know it inevitably will, the truth Ethan buried is going to come clawing back up to the surface. I feel like the fallout for Chase and Brooklyn is going to be absolutely devastating. Chase is a dedicated police officer. When he finds out that the man who claimed to be his foster daughter's father broke into the PCPD to tamper with a cold case, his entire world is going to shatter. I genuinely think we are heading toward one of the most emotionally devastating custody battles in the history of the show, all because Ethan's protective lie is going to detonate and take an entire innocent family down with it. This brings me to the terrifying face from his past that the summer preview teased. The writers have promised that this figure will interrupt Ethan's budding romance with Ava and send him on the run. I believe with my whole heart that this face belongs to whoever really fathered Phoebe. I feel like the writers are setting up a phenomenal villain entrance. If Ethan was willing to break into a police station and rig a federal DNA test just to keep this man's name out of the system, this person must be a true nightmare. I can perfectly picture the scene. Ethan and Ava finally letting their guard down in the gallery, the tension shifting into genuine romance, only for the door to chime and the ghost from Delilah's past to walk in. I know the phrase "on the run" usually spells a tragic goodbye on daytime television, and the thought of losing Ethan so soon after his phenomenal return is heartbreaking. However, I feel like if Ethan bolts town to lead this dangerous threat away from Phoebe, it will be the most heroic, beautiful thing he has ever done. It completely recontextualizes his character. He isn't running away from his responsibilities. He is sacrificing his Port Charles homecoming and his potential future with Ava to act as human bait. He is willing to become a fugitive to ensure that the monster from his past never even looks in the direction of the Quartermain nursery. In my opinion, this storyline is a masterclass in character evolution. We are watching a man who has always lived in the moral gray area make the ultimate sacrifice for a child that isn't even his. I feel so incredibly invested in every single choice he makes, from the way he gripped that match on the pier to the way he palmed that DNA swab at the hospital. Every action is a testament to the fact that love leaves us no choice. And sometimes the only way to stand between an innocent baby and a monster is to break every rule in the book. I genuinely believe we are witnessing the birth of a classic Port Charles legend with this storyline. I am on the edge of my seat waiting to see if Ethan's desperate con is going to hold, or if it is going to detonate and destroy the lives of everyone he is trying to protect. What do you think Ethan is hiding? Is he a selfless hero breaking the law for love, or is he running a con that is going to end in absolute tragedy? Drop your wildest theories below, because Port Charles needs all of our detective work to figure this one out.